We continue now at the top of Daf Vav Amud Beis in Mesechet Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 26b. This Daf is sponsored by David Grossman. Thank you for your sponsorship. If you'd like to sponsor an Amud or Daf, see the description box below, and see the description box below to see how you can support this channel. On the previous Amud, the Gemara said that Shevna, who was the chief of staff of Chizkiyo, he surrendered to Sanhedrin and he was coming out of the gates. And miraculously the gates closed so that he was the only one who came out. And Amrulay, so the Assyrians, they said to him, Asher Yasa Checha, where's your whole camp? Amr, he said, Hadrubi, they turned back on me. Amrulay, they said to him, Imkain, if so, Achuchi kam mechayaches ban, you're laughing at us. Nakvu ba'akavav, so they pierced his heels. V'talu bezinvei suseim, and they hung him by the tails of their horses. V'hayu megarin no so al hakotzim ve'ala barkonin, and they were dragging him on the thorns and the thistles. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rebbe Elazar says, Shevna Baal Hana Haya. Shevna was somebody who pursued Hana. He pursued physical pleasure. It's written over here in the pasuk in Yeshayahu Leichbal Sochein Hazet says, come to this Sochein, and the pasuk goes on to say Shevna. Uchsiv Hasam, and it says over there Vatilo Sochenes, when it talks about Avishag Hashunamis with David HaMelech, she was a Sochenes to him, and so you see it has to do with Hana. Rashi explains Baal Hana Kimashmo, exactly what it sounds like. V'yesh Omrim Mishkav Zocher, some say it refers to homosexuality. Sochenes Mechamim Maso, Sochenes means to say that Avishag, she warmed him. That's referring to David HaMelech when he was very old. And the Gemara continues, the pasuk says in Tehillim, Ki hashasos yeharesun, if the shasos is destroyed, literally translated as foundations, tzadik mapal, what will the righteous one do? And Rashi explains, Ki hashasos yeharesun basrei dechihinei harishoim yidruchun keshes ksiv. This pasuk is written after the pasuk quoted on the previous amud of Ki hinei harishoim. Tzadik mapal, what is the tzadik going to do? Meaning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu masachar shu meshalim, what is the reward that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to pay? Well, mefarish my mashma shasos lashon siyas tzadikim. The Gemara later is going to explain that the word shasos, how it implies siyas tzadikim, it implies a group of tzadikim, as the Gemara now goes on to say. The Gemara continues, Rav Yehuda v'Rav Eina tzamachlokes, Rav Yehuda and Rav Eina, what it means, the shasos. Chad amar ilu Chizkiya v'siyato neherasim. One says it means if Chizkiya and his group, if they are destroyed, tzadik mapal, so what's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what reward will he give? V'chad amar, and one says ilu beis hamikdash yeharis, if the beis hamikdash is going to be destroyed, tzadik mapal, what is the tzadik going to do? And Rashi explains, Ilu Beis HaMikdash Chorev, if the Beis HaMikdash is going to be destroyed, Al Yedei Sanhedrin, meaning through Sanhedrin, Be'atzaso Shel Shivna, through the council of Shivna, Tzadik Ma'poal, Ayen Nifla'osav Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what's the Tzadik going to do? Where are the wonders of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? V'ula Amar Nula says, what does the pasuk mean? Ilu Machshavosav Shel Osa Rasha Einon in Erasas. It means to say, if the thoughts of this Rasha, referring to Shevna, if they are not destroyed, so Tzadik Ma'poal, what is the Tzadik going to do? And Rashi explains, Ilu machshavas shel Shevna Rasha einan nerasos, if the machshavas of Shevna are not destroyed, v'achi mashma kraf. You interpret the pasuk this way, it goes as follows: Ki hashasos yareson machshavos of shel oso Rasha hakosav lamalo. The thoughts of this Rasha which are written above, Ki hinei rishoyim yidruchun keshes, in that pasuk of Ki hinei rishoyim v'lashon shasos machshavos. The word shasos, according to this, means the thoughts. Shumeishes bekiras libo yareson ruuyos hein leharis. It means to say these thoughts that he has in his heart, they are fit to be destroyed. Shimlo kain, and if not, tzadik mapalo shel Chizkiyo ve'echas. What is the work of Chizkiyo? Where is his reward? And the Gemara continues, Bishlam alaman damar ilu machshavos shel oso Rasha. It makes sense according to the one who says that we're talking about the thoughts of the Rasha of Shevna. Hainu dechsiv, that's what's written in the pasuk, Ki hashasos yeyareson, that the shasos are going to be destroyed. We can understand the reference in the pasuk. Ulaman damar beis hamikdash nami, and according to the one who says beis hamikdash as well, Tetznan, because we learned in the Mishnah, Evan haisa shami most neviim harishonim, there was a stone there by the beis hamikdash from the times of the early prophets, Ushasiya haisa nikris, and it was referred to as Shasiya. The word shasos, we understand, can refer to machshavos, and it can refer to the beis hamikdash. Rashi explains, Ki hashasos lashon v'lo shas libo gam lazos. You see the word shas has to do with thoughts. And Evan haisa sham tachas ha'aron, there was a stone there, Ushasiya hi nikris, it was called Shasiya, shemimena nishtas ha'olam, it was through that the world was set, that the foundation of the world was created. And so again, we understand how the word shasos can refer to those things. But according according to the one who says it refers to Chizkiah, if it refers to Chizkiah and his group, where do we find that tzaddikim are referred to as shasos? And the Gemara says Dichsib, because it's written in the pasuk, Kila Hashem mitzukei eretz, it says that the pillars of the earth belong to Hashem, vayashas aleim tevel, and he sets the world upon them. And the Gemara continues, if you want, I could say it's from the following pasuk. The pasuk says, Hifli Eitza, wonderful is his counsel, Higdil Toshia, great is his wisdom. And so you see the word Toshia, it refers here to the wisdom of the Torah, as Rashi explains, Toshia al Shem Sha'olam Mishosis ala Torah, because the world is on the foundation of Torah. V'lomdan, those who learn it, Nikras Toshia, they are referred to as Toshia. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Chanan says, Lama Nikra Shema Toshia, why is the Torah referred to as Toshia? Mipnei Shimateshes Kocho Shaladim, because it weakens a person who learns the Torah. Davar Acher, another explanation, Toshia, Shenitna Bechashoy. Toshia means that it was given in private, Mipnei HaSatan, because of the Satan. Rashi explains, because the Satan prosecuted, it should stay in the hands of the upper worlds, and the luchos should not be given over to Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Gemara continues, Davar Acher, another explanation, Toshia, why is it referred to as Toshia? Devarim Shalto, it means that it's things that don't have substance, but yet Sha'olam Meshoses Aleim, yet the world is founded upon them. And Rashi explains, Devarim Shalto, Dibor Ukriya B'Yalma, you're just saying things, you're just reading things. V'chol Dibor Einbo Geshisha Mamish, when you just have speech. Speech is not something with substance. Kitohu Hazeh, it's like Tohu. V'Ava B'chein Olam Meshoses Aleim, nevertheless, the world is founded upon them. And the Gemara continues, Amar Ula says, Machshava moeles, afilu l'divrei Torah. Machshava helps even for divrei Torah. And Rashi explains, Machshava daigas halev al mizonos of shaladim. It means, Machshava here means concern, worry. When a person is worried about his sustenance, he's worried about his mizonos. Moeles means mahanya l'shakech limudo. It helps that a person's going to forget his learning. That's what it means, Machshava moeles. It's going to be effective to disturb one's learning, even when it comes to divrei Torah. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Meifer machshavos arumim v'lo sa'asena yedeyim toshia. And Rashi explains, Meifer machshavos arumim nosein lehem mizonos, he gives them sustenance, umevatel machshavos milibam, and that takes away these thoughts from them. Shelo yominichan osan la'asos toshia, which would not allow them to do toshia, which would not allow them to learn Torah. Those thoughts are taken away, and they are no longer disturbed. Lishnachrin, another way of understanding this, machshava sha'adam mechashiv kach v'kach eseh v'kach v'kach tala biyadi. A person has all kinds of machshavas, all kinds of plans that he has. Moeles lahashbes hadavar shein machshavtam eskayemes afilu lidvar Torah. Those plans that a person makes, they are effective in stopping the matter. That it means to say, even l'divrei Torah, even for divrei Torah, sometimes those plans will not work out. Kagon ha'omer, for example, if a person says, ad yom ploni asayim kach v'kach mesechtes begirsa, he says, by a certain date I'm going to finish a certain amount of mesechtes, that's not necessarily going to be effective. Meifer machshavos arumim she'ein machshavosov ola biyado v'afilu l'toshia. It means to say, meifer machshavos arumim, all of his plans, they are not necessarily successful, even if those plans involve Torah. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabba says, Imasuk in Lishma, however, if the person is learning Torah Lishma, Eina Moeles, then it's not effective to disturb him, then he will be successful. Shenemar, as it says in the Pasuk, Rabos Machshavos Belevish, it says a person has many thoughts, V'atzas Hashem Hitakum, and the counsel of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's what lasts. And what that means to say is, Eitza Sheyesh Ba Dvar Hashem. If you have advice, you have counsel, you do something that has within it the Dvar Hashem, Hitakum Liolam, that will last forever. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Emasai. Rabbi Yehuda said, when do we say that, let's say, someone who's a gambler is not able to be a witness? That's if that's the person's only profession. But if he has another profession, then he is allowed to be a witness. And the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Avo, Amar Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Avo says that Rabbi Elazar says, Halacha Rabbi Yehuda. The halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. V'Amar Rabbi Avo, Amar Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Avo says that Rabbi Elazar says, Kulan etzrichen hachraza bebezin. All of these individuals, in order to be disqualified as being witnesses, that needs to be proclaimed in the courts. But when it comes to roa, when it comes to a shepherd, Pligi bar Ravacha v'Ravina. There's a machlokas amoroim between Ravacha and Ravina. Chadamar boy hachraza. One says in order to be disqualified, you need to proclaim it in Bezdin for the roa, for the shepherd as well. V'chadamar lo boy hachraza. The other one says that you don't need hachraza. You need no pronouncement. Automatically, the roa is disqualified. And the Gemara says, B'shlam l'man damar lo boy hachraza. It makes sense according to the one who says that you don't need any pronouncement. Hainu damar Rav Yehuda marav. That's consistent with what Rav Yehuda says, that Rav says stam roa apostle. That in general, automatically a shepherd is puzzled to be a witness. But according to the one who says that you need an announcement, my stam roa puzzle, what does it mean that a stam shepherd is puzzled to be an aid? And the Gemara says it just means that in general we don't need to do any investigation. Automatically the person's a roa. We will make such a proclamation, such an announcement that they're puzzled, they're disqualified from being a witness. And the Gemara continues, there was a shtar matana, and signed upon it was two thieves. Savar Rav Papa bar Shmuel Achshura. Rav Papa bar Shmuel thought that we should say that the document is kosher, because there was no pronouncement made against these gazlonim, and therefore until there's a pronouncement they are considered to be kosher witnesses. Amar le Rava, Rava said to him, Nihida bo'inan hachraza begazlan derabanan. Granted, we need to have an announcement when somebody's a gazlan on a derabanan level. All the cases the Mishnah was discussing are derabanan level gazlanim. Begazlan doraisa, but if you're talking about a thief on a doraisa level, mi bo'inan hachraza, do we really need hachraza? You do not need an announcement in such a situation. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, Simin davar va'arayis ganav, that's a mnemonic for the following Gemara. Amar Rav Nachman says, Ochle davar acher, those who eat davar acher, the simple explanation of davar acher refers to eating pork. Pesulin la'edus, those people are disqualified from being witnesses. We'll see Rashi in a moment. And the Gemara continues, Hani mili befarhesia, that's true if it's done in public. Avol b'tzina lo, but if it's done in private, then this is not true. And Rashi explains, Ochle davar acher mekable tzedakah min hanochrim. Rashi understands that Ochle davar acher is a metaphor. It means the person is taking tzedakah, he's taking charity from non-Jews. To have a chil Hashem, that's considered a chil Hashem to do that. Machmas mamon, and that's a chil Hashem that's due to money. The person wants money, he's pursuing money in this manner. V'havale kirasha dechamas, that's the equivalent of a rasha dechamas, that's equivalent of somebody who is a wicked person with regards to money, and therefore the person is not able to be a witness. And again, the Gemara said that's true b'farhesi if it's in public, but in private that's not true. And the Gemara continues, u'v'farhesi nami lo amron, even if it's done in public, we only say that that's a disqualification. Ela de'efshar le ledzune b'tzin, if it was possible that he could have supported himself privately, v'kam evazi nafshin, yet he's disgracing himself b'farhesi and doing it in public, avolo efshar le, but if it was impossible otherwise, chiyusehu, so that's his livelihood, that's not something that would disqualify him. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Nachman says, hachoshed al harayis, if somebody is suspect with regards to harayis, illicit relationships, kosher le'edus, that person is still going to be kosher in terms of being a witness. And Rashi explains kosher le'edus deva'inan rasha dechamas, because again, as we said, in order to be disqualified to be a witness, you have to be a rasha dechamas. It has to be involving money, and so therefore, if it's involving harayis, the person is still going to be kosher to be a witness. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Sheshes says, Ani Mori, answer me, my master, Arboin Bekaspe, this person who is choshed al harayis, he's going to get 40 lashes across his shoulders. The kosher, and you're saying such a person is kosher to be a witness. And Rashi explains, Ani Mori Aneni Adoni, again, answer me, my master, Arboin Bekaspe Chayiv Malkasu, this person is Chayiv Malkas, Afavi Shein Sham Hasra, and that's true even without Hasra, as we say in Meseches Kiddushin, and yet you're saying that this person is going to be kosher as a witness. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava says, Umoder Rav Nachman, but Rav Nachman would admit, even though Rav Nachman says he is kosher to be a witness, but Rav Nachman would admit, Inyan Eidus Isha, that when it comes to testifying regarding a woman, Shu Pasal, there already he is going to be disqualified because he has an interest. He's somebody who's choshed al harayis. Maybe he just wants this woman not to be considered married so that he can pursue her. And the Gemara continues, Amar Ravina v'yiteimer Rav Papa, Ravina says, and some say Rav Papa says, Lo Amron el lafukan, when we say that he has a conflict of interest and he can't testify with regards to Eidus Isha, that's in order la'afuka, to take her away from her husband. Maybe he's testifying that the husband divorced her or that he died. That already he has a conflict of interest. Avoliyula, but if the testimony is that she's a married woman, so less lanba, so that's not an issue, because if he's testifying she's a married woman, certainly there's no conflict of interest over there. But the Gemara continues, Pshita, well, isn't that obvious? Gemara says it's not necessarily obvious. Ma'udetema, what might you have said? Ho adifale, maybe he actually prefers that she be married. Because it's written in the pasuk, Mayim genuvim yimtaku, that stolen water is sweet, so he'd rather that it be a situation where he could be stealing her, so to speak, that she be a married woman. Kamash malon, so it's coming to teach us that as long as she's in a state where she's not married, it's easier for him to pursue her, and therefore that really would be his conflict of interest. And the Gemara continues, V'yomer Rav Nachman, and Rav Nachman says, Ganav Nisan v'Ganav Tishrei, one who steals in Nisan and Tishrei, meaning to say in the harvesting season and in the gathering season, Lo Shmei Ganav, that person is not considered to be a Ganav, as we'll explain. And Hanimili Ba'arisa, that's true by a sharecropper, V'davar Muad, if he took a small amount, V'davar Shenigmar Malachtu, and something where the work was already completed. And Rashi explains, Ba'arisa de Tarach Bo Mora Hatera, this is an Arisa sharecropper, he worked hard and he rationalizes, Litol Davar Muad Yoser Al Chelko, he rationalizes to take a little more than the portion he's supposed to take, because of the fact that he worked so hard. Again, we're talking about the produce where all the work has been finished. Now he's already like a poel, like a worker, a mori bohatera, so he rationalizes. He thinks that the small amount that he's taking, the owner is not going to be makbid, he will not be strict about, and therefore stealing in that fashion, that's not called a ganiv with regards to these issues in terms of testimony, etc. And the Gemara continues, Ichrei de Rav Zavid, the farmer of Rav Zavid, Rashi says, Ichor lav hainawaris. Rashi says, we're not talking here about a sharecropper, ve'eno cholik b'peiros. We're not talking about somebody who takes a portion of the produce. And the Gemara continues again, Ichrei de Rav Zavid, the farmer of Rav Zavid, who is not a sharecropper, Chad gonav kabed desari, upasle, one of them stole a calf of barley, and he was disqualified from being a witness. V'chad gonav kibura dahine, and one stole a cluster of dates, and he also pasle, and he disqualified him as well from being a witness. And Rashi explains, Kibura dahini kimin eshkol yesh tamarim harbe ba'anaf. It's like a cluster, you have a bunch of dates on one branch, and again, these people were disqualified. And the Gemara continues, Hanu kivoroi, to cover nafsha b'yom tov rishon shel atzeres. There were people, they worked as those who buried the dead, and they buried someone, they took care of a funeral on the first day of Yontiv of Atzeres, of Shavuos. And so Shamtinu Rav Papa put them in Chayrim because of this. You're not supposed to do this on Yontif. Upaslinu Leidos, and he disqualified them from being witnesses. And Rashi explains, Upaslinu Leidos to Misham Schar Mammon over Maldos, because they did this for money, that's why they were transgressing. V'havalu Karasha Dechamas, that puts them in the category of a Rasha Dechamas. That's what Rav Papa said. V'achsharinu Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua, but Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua, he said they can be witnesses. Amar Le Rav Papa said to him, V'arishayim, but aren't they considered Rishayim? They're wicked people. And the response was, no, because they think mitzvah ka'avdi. They believe they're doing a mitzvah. If they believe they were doing a mitzvah, we can't consider them to be a rasha. But the Gemara continues, but they've already been put into chayrim because of this, so they should be aware of the fact that what they are doing is wrong. Rashi explains, they were put in chayrim originally, and they did this a second time. They're repeating the avera. And the Gemara said to that, the Gemara says to that, Savri, because they think, they believe, kapara ka'avdi lon rabbanan, that what they did really was right, but they still need a kapara for the violation of Yontiv, and that's why they were put into Chayrim, and so therefore, again, they still believe that what they are doing is correct. Rashi explains, Savri haide shamtinon, they think the reason why they were put into Chayrim, mishum kaparahu, it's because of the fact they need atonement, al sho'avarnu, because of the transgression, v'lo mishum denahaderbon, but it's not that they have to stop doing this, it's not that they're supposed to stop from doing what they were doing. They think it's mutter to desecrate Yontif for this mitzvah. And then they'll be sitting and they'll be ostracized, and that's a way of getting atonement for the violation of Yontif, but that is the proper thing to do. This is what they believe. Again, kapara, ka'avdi lon rabbanan, that this shamtina, this chayrim that they were put in, this excommunication, was just something for kapara purposes. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Itmar, it was stated, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph.